I remember both of us being sort of quite excited because we'd gone through the ultrasound process before and we got taken into the room and usual sort of preparation, and I couldn't see terribly much. Anna could see a little bit of the picture. The technician came in and started taking the various positions with the ultrasound and everything, obviously taking measurements. I was quite interested in what she was doing. I couldn't see a lot, but I could see her face, and as she was sort of looking at the screen intently. And then after about, I think it might have been about 10 minutes, she said, "Look, I think I need some technical advice." And she said, "I won't be long." So she went out of the room, and within about 5 minutes she came back with what I gathered was a senior person. The person didn't introduce themselves straight away, but she came in and the technician deferred to her. She then had a look herself at what was happening. I then saw expressions on their faces. Anna wasn't noticing it at the time because I think she was sort of looking at the ultrasound on her stomach. But I noticed the expressions on their faces and they kind of looked quite serious, and I thought, there's something going on here. The senior person, which I later found out was actually a doctor, she said, "Look, there seems to be a problem with your baby." And Anna said, "What sort of a problem?" And I said, "What can you tell us?" And they said, "Look, there's quite a dark shadow on the near the lungs of the child, and we're not sure what it means, but we need to do some. I'm going to continue with this ultrasound." So that sort of worried both of us. All of a sudden I thought, even though I'd seen the expression on their faces, when she said that, I just thought, oh no, and I started getting really concerned. Then after a few minutes more, she says, "Excuse me," and then she went out and she brought someone else in. So there were 3 people in the room looking at the ultrasound. So after a couple of minutes anyway, she said, "Look, I need to tell you that that shadow is a very serious thing." She said, "I don't think your child will survive. We believe that it's going to affect your child's lungs, and we do not believe that your child will survive outside the womb." And I then said, "Isn't there something you can do?" I said, "I've heard people can, operate on the child while they're in utero." And she said, "Look, no." She said, "That's just not possible." And it was just stunned silence. I just didn't know what to say. Anna started crying softly, but she said, no, this is not going to happen. No, I can't. This is not fair." And the senior person said, "Look, I'll give you a couple of minutes," but she said, "You may like to consider the issue of termination." That was a surprising thing. We never found out what it was called. It was just explained to us what the problem was. And even the obstetrician didn't actually mention a particular a name for what it was called. So after they left the room, it was as quiet as anything. I can still remember how quiet. I couldn't hear a noise. How you hear the heartbeat of the ultrasound. We got so used to hearing the heartbeat from the ultrasound, the little noise that it makes, that when it stopped, it was just a weird feeling. And Anna was still quite tearful, and she said, "I'm not having an abortion." And I said, "No." I said, "We don't need to do that." I said, "Look, we don't know. Maybe things could improve. We don't know what's going to happen, so let's not, we don't have to do this, and, just because they suggest it doesn't mean we have to do it." And she said, "It's not fair." And I said, "No, it's not fair." And so we're both pretty upset by that stage. I was actually crying by that stage, and I said, "Look, we're going to get over this, and we really need to just try and sort of keep ourselves together. We need time to just go through this and talk about it and digest it all." At that very moment, I think both of us would have felt we were the only people in the world. I mean, I really felt isolated. It wasn't just the physical isolation that they'd left the room and left us by ourselves. It was just the feeling that they had already made a decision. They'd removed themselves from our influence, if you like, and suddenly we're by ourselves, both physically and emotionally and psychologically. It was just left up to us. I really felt like we just had no one in the world that we could talk to at that very time. I was crying out for someone to come into the room and say, it's going to be okay, we're going to work on something, or there's something we can do for you, but that didn't happen. After about, I don't know, another 10 minutes, the senior person came in and she said, look, that's all we can do for you today. We're going to send a report to your obstetrician, and we think it might be a good idea if you go and you now make an appointment with your obstetrician to discuss your options. Nobody sort of asked us, was there anybody we wanted to talk to? Was there anybody who we'd like to be with at that time? It was just like, oh well, this is what's going to happen, and now you're kind of on your own. And that's exactly how we felt. Apart from the obstetrician, there was no medical, no support from any medical personnel.